Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Tarosian, and this is RamView, the June 17th, 2022 edition. And thank you so much for clicking on. Thank you so much for the likes, for the subscriptions, for the all that good stuff, for the responses. It's really great, again, to be back. My anniversary stuff was going on, so a little caught up. Again, I'm in camp season as a part of a camps board member. I run Outsiders. It's a camp for youth up at Creston, California. And I'll be there next week, and I'll be going to be doing some shows on the road. We bought a new laptop for it. Hope it all works. So anyway, we're going to be talking some Rams football, a little bit of NFL, keeping it tight, keeping it bang, bang. Everyone seems to like it that way, so that's cool. Everyone's talking about the Warriors last night. The Warriors. Personally, I'm a Turnbull AC guy. Maybe of the Gramercy Riffs, but I was never really much of the Warriors. Anyway, thank goodness the Golden State Warriors ended the NBA season. It was just bad basketball. I hate it when they try to tell you a low-scoring game and teams not playing well, and yet they're trying to tell you it's because of the great defense, and it's really because the teams aren't playing well because they're not very good. And while the Warriors are the best of the best in this era, they are probably one of the few teams you would pay to see, worth paying to see. The Celtics were just bad, and the Celtics were soft, and people don't like Draymond Green, and I understand why. But Draymond Green is a dude you go into a foxhole with. Jason Tatum, man, you say Jason Tatum, and I'm looking for Earl Tatum, and I just don't think they're that tough. So the Warriors got even with the Celtics for giving them Joe Barry Carroll, and life goes on, right? And so I'm looking up Ram information, and SoFi comes up, and the SoFi is going to be hosting some World Cup soccer, FIFA stuff. I don't care. I'd much rather talk football. And why don't we get into it? A lot of stuff is buzzing around. Bruce Smith, I don't know if it was Brian Urlacher too. Bruce Smith are upset that Tony Baselli's going in the Hall of Fame. And I kind of get it. Tony Baselli, USC guy. What do you have, like 6 years in the NFL, 5 years Pro Bowl, 3 years All Pro, something like that. Knee got blown out. He was really good, and he's probably a Hall of Famer. I would just really make him wait until he turns 65 or 70. I think there's just other guys I'd like to see get in. Dennis Hara. And there's just other people that I think deserve a Hall of Fame that have been around longer, and so Charlie Cowan. And anyway, call me crazy. I don't think it's that much of an argument. I understand Baselli. I don't know if he should go in. I know he's been out for 20 years, but I'd still make the dude wait. I don't know. Also, I made comments yesterday about Minkah Fitzpatrick and the contract that the Steelers gave him. And I broadcast that at 6 a.m. yesterday, and I didn't know Colin Cowherd was going to say anything about it. I don't get my stuff from Colin Cowherd, okay? Just to let you know, I might critique a couple things, even though I think Cowherd's probably the most talented guy behind a mic talking sports nowadays. There's no argument about that. I think, he kisses up a little bit too much. I think he wants to be friends too much. But he's the best out there. But I don't steal from him. So my friend out in Missouri, who's a Steeler fan, Rob, can I just let you know, even Colin Cowherd took my show and said the Fitzpatrick contract was a bad contract. You don't give that much to a safety unless his name is Ed Reed, right? Okay. News coming out about teams getting fined for being too physical during OTAs, the Cowboys. I get it, I guess. What are you going to do? It's football, so you want those guys healthy. And what's the punishment? They don't get to the OTAs next year, or they get an OTA eliminated next year. Yeah. That's like saying, okay, you drank 2 Cokes out of the fridge. We're going to punish you by only giving you 1 Coke or something, News keeps buzzing about Deshaun Watson and everything taking place with him. I saw something about a 25th and a 26th. Deshaun Watson is Deshaun Watson, and yeah, it is what it is, and it's going to play out, and the dude should be put on the pine for the year. But how bad, as each day this goes by, how bad does this make the Cleveland Browns look? It just made $230 million guaranteed. So no matter what happens, Watson is taken care of. So Deshaun Watson, his reputation's blasted. but the Browns just keep digging a bigger and bigger hole right now. So anyway, wanted to get that stuff in. As I said, I'm Joe Terosian. Thank you so much for the likes. Please hit subscribe. You can follow me at JoeT13B at Twitter. Also, that's my handle, JoeT13B on Instagram. You can see me on Facebook and JoeTerosian.com. Although I haven't been posting a lot of stuff there, but I do have a lot of past columns and such, and you can follow me in those places and buy my books. I don't have one in my hand right now, but you can read my books. My football books are Tangent Dreams, Temple City, Company of the Ages. They're 2 football books. And because my day job is I am a pastor of a Christian church, I have written some explicitly Christian novels that you can read them as well. And they're all found on Amazon, and you can check them out. Got some nice reviews, and please purchase one and let me know. All right. As we get into the Ram talk a little bit, one of the things I was noticing was adding up the things that don't matter anymore are really starters, right? It used to be in the old days, you knew who the starters were, but it's so situational now. And it used to be no matter what happened in the real avant-garde thing to do was, oh my gosh, they're going to pull the fullback and put in a third wide receiver. It was like something exciting that we had never seen before, right? And really everything is catered to, situations, right? So who's the starter? When I was a kid and you looked at the 73 Rams, Larry Brooks, Merlin Olsen were the DTs. Fred Dreyer, Jack Youngblood were the defensive ends. I think they're edge players now, right? The outside linebackers were Ken Geddes and Isaiah Robertson, and they didn't blitz that much. Middle linebacker was Jack Youngblood. Eddie McMillan and Charlie Stukes were at the corner. Steve Priest and Dave Elmendorf were at the safety spots. And you knew it. That was the lineup. That wasn't, unless there was a goal line defense or something. Nickel was a unique thing. Dime was something, whoa, even more. And that didn't come in until Dime really didn't come in until the late 70s. And so you knew these guys were the starters. But nowadays, you really don't gauge by that. You gauge by how many snaps somebody's going to play. And the Rams had about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think about 7 players on their roster this year who played 1,000 snaps. Darius Williams is in Jacksonville now, but they brought in Bobby Wagner, had over 1,000 snaps on defense. Jalen Ramsey, one of the highest paid players on the team on defense. Jalen Ramsey led the defense with 1,269 snaps, right ahead of Aaron Donald with 1,261 snaps. And that right there is a great sign, right? That means your best players are on the field all the time, right? It's something when we used to talk about, is he a 3-down back? Is he a back that just runs the ball and you got to pull him on 3rd down because he's not good in pass coverage, pass blocking, or receiving? And so you want to know how many snaps guys get. Leonard Floyd was over 1,000 snaps. Greg Gaines was over 1,000 snaps. An interesting one that's developing is at safety, where Taylor Rapp was something like 3rd on the team on the defense in snaps at safety. Jordan Fuller was over 1,000, and they both had times where they went out with injury, as we know. And now you have Nick Scott, who's kind of risen in the depth chart to where he is and should be competing for a starting spot. He had close to 700 snaps last year. And so what you want to see is like who's getting snaps on the field. It's not necessarily about starting. Now, if you're starting, you're going to get the snaps, but the guys that are playing and who's going to move into that next round, because I would personally expect Nick Scott to increase and Taylor Rapp to decrease, because I think we've seen that Nick Scott is not as vulnerable in coverage as Taylor Rapp is. So keep an eye on those things. I think those things are really interesting. At linebacker, you got Bobby Wagner, but Bobby Wagner in the base defense of the Rams will probably play alongside Ernest Jones. So it'll be interesting to see how Ernest Jones goes. He was at 519 snaps last year, and it'll be interesting to see how much playing time he gets, because you'd like to see the Rams in games where there's a blowout. You'd like to see them spot Wagner, pull him, save his legs, give Traven Howard some snaps there, maybe move Taylor Rapp into the box there. But because of Wagner's age and of games in hand, you want to see his snaps come down a little. You want to see Ernest Jones snaps go up. When they get into that 1,000 range, that means these are the guys that are on the field all the time. An interesting spot to look at is cornerback. While while Jalen Ramsey plays 1,200 snaps. David Long played 600 last year, and Robert Rochelle got hurt with 233. Darius Williams, of course, left. Dante Dion was not brought back. And so it'll be interesting to see who starts collecting the snaps there between Long and Rochelle, but also with Troy Hill in the fold and the recent draft picks of Kendrick and Jacoby Bryant in the recent draft. Who's going to be picking up snaps there? It'll be really interesting because I wouldn't expect any one of them to garner 1,000 snaps. It'll be interesting to see. So you want to keep an eye on that. And the other one is Leonard Floyd played 1,000 snaps last year. But on the other side, there was kind of a revolving door until Von Miller got there because Justin Hollins was playing well. Then he got hurt. Terrell Lewis stepped in. Terrell Lewis got banged up. We had Ogwa Okoronkwo. Of course, he's gone to Houston now. Thank you for the comp pick. And so it'll be interesting to see who starts grabbing those snaps. And that's the thing you got to look at the next day when you're looking at the stat sheet. If you go to Pro Football Focus, what you want to see is who's getting the majority of the snaps. And that gives you a better indication of the confidence the team has in a certain player. Case in point, love Terrell Burgess. I think a lot of us have liked Terrell Burgess in the past. Same thing with Traven Howard. But boy, you start looking at the snap sheet at the end of the game, and you're realizing they're not getting on the field for anything more than special teams. So that's just something to kind of keep your eye on. On offense with the snaps, the top five were the Rams. Amongst the top five, along with Matthew Stafford, were the Rams offensive line. Now, two of those guys, Austin Corbett, signed as a free agent in Carolina. Andrew Whitworth retired. But you got David Edwards, Brian Allen, and Rob Havenstein. They're all over 1,000. So you love it when you see your offensive line, all of them getting multiple over 1,000 snaps. Joseph Noteboom, the best reserve, didn't even have 300 snaps for the Rams last year. The receivers, outside of Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson, that's always situational, and you want to see how that's going to play out. But you certainly expect Allen Robinson to get over 1,000 snaps. And it'll be interesting to see what becomes of Tutu Atwell. Now, I'm in the positive Tutu Atwell camp, which seems to be gaining momentum. He's trending in the right direction. Everyone's kind of up on Tutu now, but I was up on him 2 months ago. It'll be interesting how many snaps he gets, because I think until something breaks the OBJ, Atwell is going to fill the Deshaun Jackson role. And that means the spot burner, spot different things on offense. But his snaps, I don't think, will be over 500. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe more. It'll be interesting as the season plays out. And, of course, the running backs are a committee, right? And such. So we'll go from there. Hey, Eric Dickerson, I saw this, and I try not to, the snap thing's my own. The other opinions are my own. But I saw Eric Dickerson had a post the other day about his top running backs in Rams history. And I'm currently reading his book, Watch My Smoke, which is pretty interesting too. But Dickerson's list includes himself as number one, of course, Marshall Faulk. I think Marshall Faulk was a more complete back. I would kind of invert that a little bit, although I did love Dickerson. Steven Jackson, I really love Steven Jackson, and he's a tragedy because he played in St. Louis under, the post greatest show on turf teams. And then he put Todd Gurley. And I thought Todd Gurley, I guess that's okay. But Dickerson didn't have any mention of Wendell Tyler, Lawrence McCutcheon, Dick Bass, or even show any knowledge of Tank Younger or Deacon Dan Towler or Horner in the bull elephant backfield and stuff. And I find lists not really that important, but I just thought it was interesting that those guys got mentioned. But really, when you think about it, I don't know how you compile a list of all-time great running backs and you don't list Lawrence McCutcheon, right? And let alone you could throw in Dick Bass, Wendell Tyler. Dick Bass went over 1,000 once, Wendell Tyler twice. And then, when they were playing 12-game seasons, you had Tank Younger, Deacon Dan Towler running the ball, having all-pro seasons, playing in an offense that was headed by Bob Waterfield and Norm Van Brocklin, and throwing to Bob Boyd and Crazy Legs Hirsch and Tom Fears. You don't get 1,000-yard seasons in those days. So I thought that was interesting. So it also caused me to look up if you remember certain names that did run for 1,000 yards for the Rams that might not be in that argument or debate about these were the best running backs in Ram history. Hey, Willie Ellison ran for over 1,000 yards for the Rams in 1971. Charles White, remember him, USC Heisman Trophy winner. After Dickerson was traded in 87, he stepped up and he led the NFL in rushing with 1,300 yards. Greg Bell ran for 1,000 yards in 1988 and 1989, and then the Rams didn't re-sign him. Now, his career didn't go anywhere afterwards, but typical Rams, right? Under the Georgia era, they let him go after 2 great seasons for the Rams. And you know what? The Rams weren't the same, were they? The last hurrah for the original incarnation of the Los Angeles Rams was 1989. And that was the year after they lost to the 49ers, the NFC title game in 1990. That season, that's when everything started falling apart, ultimately leaving where they left to St. Louis. Cleveland Gary ran for 1,000 yards in 92, and Jerome Bettis had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in 93 and 94. I thought that was kind of interesting just to make sure that we remember some of these other backs that ran for 1,000 yards. On this date in 1923, a dude named Elroy Crazy Legs Hirsch was born. He would be 99 today. And you got to know who he is, right? I don't have to break down who Crazy Legs Hirsch is, right? Do I? Please tell me I don't. Okay, I don't. But Crazy Legs Hirsch would be 99. He passed away several years ago, many years ago. And he, of course, was a Ram legend. Wore number 40, which was really interesting because the short time Von Miller was here, they allowed him to wear number 40. Maybe there was a connection with the family. But it's the first time in my lifetime I ever saw anyone wear number 40. Also born on this day, which I thought was interesting to me, the nerd, was in 1952, was Rams defensive tackle Charles DeJurnett. Now, DeJurnett played with the Rams in the mid-'80s. He had been a 17th round selection. Get this, 17 rounds. That, in my day, when I started following the draft, which wouldn't have been 73 as much as it would have been 74, because my first season was 73, that was a 17-round draft, okay? And the Chargers drafted Charles DeJurnett, 17th round, number 418 overall, out of San Jose State. And he didn't sign with the Chargers. He said he signed, he played, started, and starred for the Southern California Sun of the World Football League. And in fact, he made all WFL in 1975, the same year they only played 12 games and canceled everything. And when the WFL folded, DeJurnett did join the Chargers in 76 and played through them on the field through 1980, kind of a rotational defensive tackle. And he joined the Rams in 82 and played for them through 86. In 1985, he started 14 games. Now, he was a DT in the classical DT sense, defensive tackle, where in those days, you didn't expect your defensive tackle to get sacks, right? They were space eaters, run stuffers, and such. But DeJurnett, if he was still living, he would have turned 70 today. He passed away 2 years ago of cancer on November 11th, 2020. But I thought Charles DeJurnett, had a nice little run with the Rams during a good time for the Rams, and it probably deserves to be mentioned. A couple other Rams actually celebrating birthdays today. Former Rams safety Craig Dahl, 2009 through 2012, out of North Dakota State. He turns 37 today. His claim to fame is, I think he was on the 2007 Giants that won the Super Bowl. I think you could go look that up. And undrafted free agent tight end out of UCLA, Corey Harkey, who spent 5 years in the NFL, and all 5 of them were with the Rams, 2012 through 2016. Actually was on the team when it came back to LA. He's a blocking tight end. He caught a handful of passes, but he was perfect for Jeff Fisher, right? But he was not going to play for Sean McVay. And he turns only 32 today. He played in the NFL, went to Chino Hills High School, somewhat local here, and his career was over at the age of 26. But he got 5 years in, so I think he's getting a pension, and he's probably kept his body in terms of he's not going to need a hip replacement or a shoulder replacement or whatever it is they replace. And he's only 32, and he has a UCLA degree. So good for him, and happy birthday to him and all those former Rams. So good stuff to talk about today. Wanted to get those things out of the way as we get into the weekend. It is 19:30. We are going on the 20-minute mark, and this is exactly where I wanted to end it. Thank you so much for clicking on. Thank you for the support. I hope I didn't talk too fast. If I talk too fast, hit subscribe, hit like twice if you didn't like it, but then leave a comment and say, Joe, you talked too fast. I do have a tendency to get excited when I'm talking Ram football. And so we'll be back talking more on Monday, definitely from the Ram Cave, and then probably Tuesday and Wednesday from the road up at the campground up in Creston, where I'll have a kind of a cafeteria background, I think. God bless, take care, and we will talk to you soon.